Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spark a Conversation with Councilors. I'm Heidi Lueb.
I'm Liz Newton. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you with us tonight to talk about things going on with Tigard and to answer your questions. So we hope all of you are staying safe and happy and healthy. And I also like to add sane because I think that's a big part of it right now. And so thank you for being here. Please use the comment button to send us your questions, and we're going to answer them as we can. We are going to do our best to get to all of them.
Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is, as many of you may have heard, our city manager Marty Wine will be leaving us at the end of November, and so the council has started a recruitment for a new city manager, and we are interested in your input. So we'll be collecting feedback for the next couple of weeks, and I think our communication manager can nod if this is correct, but there's a way, if you go onto our website, it's right on the top of the homepage, you can give us your input. We're looking for your ideas on what skills you think are the most important for a city manager and what you think the council should consider when selecting the next city manager. So it's a multi-month process that we'll be going through, but we are interested in hearing from you, and we'd love to have your thoughts. So
this is a really great opportunity to talk about kind of the way that our government setup works. And so we are a mayor and city council with a strong city manager type of government. And so as the council, we are the policymakers, and the city manager is the executive to run the city. So this is a really, really important position for us, and we're taking it very, very seriously. This sets the tone for our community and our community, and so we really want to make sure that we're listening to you with what's important to you, what goals we have for the next 5 to 10 years, and really making sure that we get the right person for this role. So we're excited at the opportunities, and we wish Marty the best in her next endeavor.
okay, the next thing we want to talk about is we have additional funding available for Tigard businesses on our CARES program. We've got another $1.8 million in federal, state, and county funds for a second round of business assistance grants. We're accepting applications until August 23rd. We really encourage all of you businesses that have been impacted by COVID to apply. We're hoping to be able to assist as many businesses as we can. So we encourage you to apply, and we hope we can help you out.
And one of the things I'd like to say is you're tech savvy, you're here on Facebook with us, but a lot of our community members may not be. And so businesses that you frequent, please talk to them about this opportunity, because we really want to make sure we're reaching as many Tigard businesses as possible. And you can call us here and we can help step you through the process, because I know sometimes it can be cumbersome and confusing and hard. So we really want to help you, and we want to make sure to spread this money as wide as possible to help as many businesses as possible.
We're excited that we've got that additional funding to make available to our community to help them, to our businesses, to help them out during this difficult time. So,
yep.
Want to take the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
So, I guess a week and a half ago now, we had an incredibly robust discussion talking about our Public Safety Transformation Commission. We got 38 pages of feedback that we received from all of you, and we really appreciate the feedback, and it was really interesting to read through all of it. And we went through sort of step by step on the different topics and talked about it as a council. And so the refined proposal is actually going to come back before council for next week's Tuesday meeting. And so we hope that you're going to be there on the 25th to talk with us and to really listen and make sure that the commission is reflective of the community's wishes. And at that point, we will include a timeline and a process for selecting the community members.
Yeah, and so again, if you have any thoughts or questions, please send them in. We're interested in hearing from you. And we also appreciate the support that the community has shared for our police department. We have a great police department, a great chief, great command staff. As many of you know, I used to work for the city, and it's a great organization. So appreciate the community's support for our police officers doing the amazing work they do, and also your thoughtful comments about things that we can do in our community to to make it safe for everyone to be here, which is what we're looking for. So,
you know, Councilor Newton, I think this is just a really important discussion that we're having about setting the tone for what kind of community we want to live in and what our response should look like. What should police be responding to? What are other scenarios in which there might be somebody better to respond to? What should the SROs look like in our schools? These are really big community issues that get to the heart of what kind of community we want to live in and what kind of service we are providing to the residents.
yeah.
So it's a really exciting, pivotal time in Tigard. And I hope you're going to come along with us for the journey and be part of the discussion so it can be reflective of what everyone is looking for.
So, okay. Changing gears again, Washington County has a new program. It's for water utilities. It's Water Utilities Cares. So if you've been impacted by COVID-19, lost a job, you've had work hours reduced, you've been sick or under quarantine, if you meet the income eligibility of 80% of area median income for the prior 30 days before you file, or eligible for other needs-based programs like SNAP or Head Start or supplemental Social Security or things like that, you could be eligible for the full amount of your water utility covered since March 1st. So we encourage you to apply for that. I think there's a link on our website under the Tigard Cares section for you to do that. That's a new program, and the program we have right now does help. It pays a portion, but this money available from Washington County will pay all the full amount owed since March 1st. So encourage you to get on board with that.
Yeah, and definitely look at the Tigard Cares page, because maybe you don't qualify for the county one, but you could qualify for the one for the city. And so we're trying to provide as many opportunities as possible for assistance because we know it's a really hard time right now to get through. So we want to be there for you.
Okay.
So the first question that we have is, what is the status of the parks? Are playgrounds open? So the short answer is, our parks are open, our playgrounds are not. So because we are in phase 1, under that guidance, our playgrounds are closed. And part of the reason is we don't have the ability to sanitize and keep clean and all of those sorts of things. And so we really have tried to rope it off and put up signs. And I know there has been some community frustration because the signs are being taken down or they're graffitied. And we're trying to get them back up as quickly as possible, but we need our community members' help to really comply with these guidance and these guidelines. So when you're there, if you're with your immediate family and your household, you don't necessarily have to wear a mask. But if you're within 6 feet of other people, you do need to wear a mask when you're out there. I know my husband and I, when we walk the dogs, we carry our masks with us. And we wear them on the trails where it's too tight, and we're definitely not 6 feet apart. But when you're not around anyone else, you don't have to have your mask on. So just make sure you're following those outdoor masking rules. But we certainly hope, to get the playgrounds open. We know kids really want to play, and it's hard,
It's
to
tempting.
explain to them. It's very tempting.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Councilor?
I don't think so. I was going to echo, I walk the trails a lot. I'm really fortunate to live close to 2 parks and the trails, and I make a point to wear my mask. And so when I'm walking the trails, I see other people, and I'm very appreciative that most folks I see on the trails are wearing masks. So thank you for that.
Yeah, my husband and I, we were walking the dogs on Sunday morning, and we actually live kind of close to Cook Park, but we like to walk through Cook Park. And the boat ramp was hopping super early in the morning. Everyone was trying to get out there. And really, I saw most everybody in masks and being socially distant. We do have signs in the park to remind you of the mask and socially distant as well. So it's really nice to see our residents following those guidelines. But I also want to add, if you do see something going on where there may be a big party or things like that, we want to encourage you to call the Tigard Police non-emergency line. And if they have somebody available, they can go and check it out. But our approach to it is education first. So that's our goal with how we're interacting with the community, is education.
Right. Okay, is the Southwest Corridor going to be on the ballot in November? Well, actually, not on its own, but it is going to be as part of the Get Moving 2020. Is that what we call it?
Yep, the transportation package.
Correct.
So
right.
I believe
called Get Moving 2020, I think.
Yep. Metro did vote to put it on the ballot, but I know there are some discussions and some potential challenges based upon the title and all of that. So technically, as of now, yes, it is on the ballot, but I think there's still some legal stuff going on.
Right, and so it's part of a big package. There's other transportation, region-wide transportation improvements included. Study 499W, highway, I think it's Canyon or Beaverton Hillsdale, and Beaverton 217. There's some transportation corridors on the east side. There's money for bike and peds. So it's a huge package, and the Southwest Corridor is one part of it. So, and I think it's November 3rd is the election date.
Yes,
right?
it is November 3rd, and it's an important to remember, especially. I know right now there's a lot of stuff going on with the post office. While in Oregon you can mail your ballot back, there's also the option of hitting the ballot drop boxes. And I do know it's important to note right now, a lot of the ballot drop boxes were actually picked up and they're being serviced. And so if you don't see them, they will be back in plenty of time for election day. And so our Tigard election drop-off ballot is actually just behind us in the parking lot. So it's a great place if you have any concerns. When you get your ballot, you can fill it out, but dropping it off in that drop box is going to be the best way to ensure that your ballot is returned on time and it's going to be counted.
Right.
Yeah, so the next question, where can I share input on the school resource officers? You know, honestly, that's a really great question because I know we're working with the school board on coming up with a way to facilitate that communication. And so
I think if you send it to the council, we could forward it because our city manager and this Tualatin city manager are working with the school district, the school board chair, or not, I mean the superintendent on this issue. And so I think if you send it to the council, we could make sure it got forwarded on. So
absolutely.
If you have thoughts, we would love to hear them. So.
And I think kind of they're still working things out, but they're going to be talking with specific directly impacted groups. I think in smaller groups right now, and then eventually come back together as a larger commission to talk about what they found and maybe some recommendations and stuff. So this is a very thoughtful process and making sure a lot of different groups are involved, which I think is incredibly important for this topic. Absolutely.
Will there be community events in the fall? Well, that's a really good question. At this point, obviously, Taste of Tigard and the street fair have been canceled. I'm looking to our communications manager to see if he knows about Halloween.
Still up in the air.
Halloween, trick or treat, Main Street is still up in the air, and I would also guess the tree lighting is still up in the air. We got information today that the National Night Out, which is usually the first Tuesday in August, was moved to the first Tuesday in October. And our police department, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, and most of the area police departments are opting not to participate in those events, just to make sure we...
Yep, not to physically go.
Not to physically go, that's right, not to physically go because of concerns around COVID. Many of the neighborhoods that normally participate have indicated they're going to forego the event this year. But if your neighborhood is going to do an online or some sort of Zoom party, let our police department know because they may be willing to and able and might want to join you. So let us know.
And as counselors, we'd love to pop by if you're doing some sort of virtual event to stop by and say hello and chat with you. So please make sure that you're sending us your information so we can be a part of your community events as well. We still want to be out there and outreach to you any way that we can. Okay, our next question. How is Universal Plaza being paid for?
That's a really good question. Those of you that were here in, I want to say 2009 and had the opportunity to vote for the park bond for land purchase, I think it was 10%. I can have Kent post something if I'm wrong on that later, but I think it was 10% of that ballot, or that the funds from that levy were dedicated to Plaza, and so we used that money to purchase the property. As you know, it's in the downtown urban renewal district, so we have urban renewal funds available to use for that plaza. And I can tell you, I don't know the whole puzzle of funds that are available. I know there's more than one source. I am looking at that page on the website right now. I don't see the funding specifically listed here, but if you could get your contact information to Kent, right now we can get the specifics back to you. And I appreciate the question, because it is a good question.
If you go to the website, I believe there's kind of a cool video posted,
Yes.
a timeline over the building being taken down. And I know in the spring we had some really great plans on interaction and having some potential interactive things and really engaging with the community to see what was important to them to have in the plaza. And so we're shifting our strategy to make sure that there's still plenty of community input. So this really becomes a universal plaza for the city. So if you have ideas about what you want, please let us know, and we can incorporate those as well. But there's, I think, some painting that has gone on.
There's a mural.
Yep,
on the ground.
Yeah. So if you're driving by, I noticed, because one day I drove by and all of a sudden the building was gone.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I had no idea it had
Yeah.
happened. But I went back and I watched the video, and it was kind of cool to see that.
And thanks to our amazingly easy to navigate webpage, I found the answer to the question.
Oh, excellent.
It says the urban renewal programs, okay, it says that it's being funded with urban renewal tax increment financing funds. And so those are urban renewal funds that can only be spent on projects in the downtown. So that's where what the funding source is.
Yep.
Okay.
So the next question, when will we see the impact of the police levy? That's a really great question. And so it's actually ongoing now. And the police chief comes to us once a month as a council and gives us a report on the status of everything going on in the police department and the calls and the types of calls. She's also added a page completely dedicated to the police levy. And I believe this is now posted online. So you can go on a monthly basis and see what's happening with the police levy. So we're still moving forward with hiring officers. Hiring officers is a very long process. And so unfortunately it's not quite as simple as just bringing on 8 new additional officers. But I believe we actually have 2 that we extended offers to.
That's right, 2.
So that's very exciting, and we're in the process of bringing them on. But definitely, I think we're getting that webpage posted to you, so you can just click on it and take a look at the report. But that's going to be there every month, so you can track the progress of how your police money is being spent.
Okay, the next thing, there's a note here. We want you to submit your haiku to our poem contest. It's a Universal Plaza event. So join us in sharing what universality, I said that wrong, universality means to you by submitting haiku poems that reflect your experience here in Tigard. So we're going to rotate a selection of those poems, and they're going to be displayed in lights at the site of the future Universal Plaza, which will be very cool. The poems could reflect how you're feeling right now or dreams you hold for the future. Let your imagination take flight. Okay, so that will be a fun thing to do.
Councilor Newton, have you ever written a haiku poem?
I have. I was thinking about that. I used to write them. I was trying to think if I could remember one that I wrote. I edited the. Actually, I printed in an old style printing press the poetry magazine at my high school.
Wow.
So I like to do it because I got to wear jeans. That was back in the day when we couldn't wear jeans to school. But I had printer's ink all over my jeans.
I don't think I've ever written a haiku. Maybe we should each see if all of the counselors are in, and we can all write one and have them posted.
Yeah, that would be good.
Challenge to the other counselors.
As good or bad examples. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And all this talk about our USPS and safe voting, is Tigard doing anything to make our ballot box at City Hall safer? Well, one thing, I've always... The recorders, we have 2 really great city recorders here, Carol Krager and Caroline Patton. They go out at least once a day and pull ballots out in a safe box to be able to go to the county. On election day, the ballot box is actually there's people out there. So it's
I've dropped it
staff
off on that day.
On
Yep.
election day. So they're out there, and they're out there till 8 o'clock. So they have a key, they have a certain box that they go in, the county comes by. So I've observed it being, I'm very confident that ballots don't stay in there. You know, they are taken out and taken to the county on a regular basis. So I feel like it's, you know, pretty safe. I don't know what else I could say, but anyway.
Yeah.
So.
So some additional updates maybe on our library services. If you've noticed, you can drop your books off now during the week to return them. And you can also schedule an appointment to do a pickup of books. And so we're really excited to go ahead and make sure we're getting books back out there. So during the library board meeting this month, I actually heard some really interesting information that there's new guidance out there that our library materials actually have to be quarantined for 96 hours before we can process them. So once they're dropped off and returned, they go into a quarantine area for 96 hours, and then we're able to process them and put them back in the system. And so I actually thought that was really fascinating that on some of our materials, the virus could be on there for up to 96 hours.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
The census. Complete the census. The U.S. Census Bureau is ending all counting efforts for the 2020 census on September 30th, a month sooner than previously announced. I thought it was important to highlight this because the last Spark conversation we said it was October 31st, but it's been moved up to September 30th. And you count. It's really important that you complete the census information, that questionnaire, because that directly relates to funding that the city of Tigard gets for everything. And so it's really important that everybody in our community is counted so that we can use the funds that we receive to provide services to all of you. So it's important.
So what's happening on Ascension Drive? I've heard a lot of chatter about it. You know, there has been a lot of chatter about it. We had a good presentation by the staff last week talking about kind of the way that it was handled and the process that was handled and the recommended outcomes. And so the recommended outcomes are through the curves, there's going to be one side of the street that's no parking. And if I'm remembering the way, if you are driving on the outside of the curve, the no parking is on the inside of the curve. So the no parking is actually going to switch depending upon which side of the curve you are on. So half of it's going to be on one side and half of it's going to be on the other side. There's also going to be a posted this is your speed sign going up Ascension Drive because we learned that the speeding is actually worse going up the hill into the curves than coming back down. And then due to some of one of the House bills or the bills that was passed last year, we are going to pursue the ability to change the speed limit for Tigard residential streets to 20 miles an hour, which will help with that. And so we learned an important thing that the street speed doesn't change until there is a sign posted. So it's going to be over time that more and more neighborhoods will turn to 20 miles an hour, but that's something we're looking into, and it will take council action. So it's just on the horizon.
And Ascension Drive likely to be one of the first streets.
Yeah.
For that, yeah.
Yeah. I would encourage you to take a look at it. There was some really cool information using data on where some of our speeding streets are in some of our areas, and we were talking with the staff about in the future using that information to proactively try to find solutions for those areas that are most speeding and things like that, so we can proactively address it as we're getting the data to come up.
Right, and if Kent Wyatt could post for us the link to where you can file concerns you have for traffic, either speeding or visibility or anything else related to traffic, we now have a way for you to log those concerns, and they get prioritized, rated, and it's really a good way for us to make sure we're hitting the hot spots first.
Yep.
Looks like Youth Councilor Calderon has accepted the Haiku challenge.
Hi, Youth Councilor Calderon.
He'll have to work on one, but he'd love to see the other councilors write one too. You're on.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
So what's the date that we need to have it in by, Kent? So I can put this on my calendar?
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, while you're looking, another thing we'd like you to do, if you haven't already done so, is help us shape Parks and Rec for the next 10 years by taking the What's Next survey for to help us plan the future of Parks and Recreation in our community. So take a moment if you can and fill that out. It's kind of actually a cool. I went in and did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool because you can use a pointer or a button to indicate the park that's closest to you and talk about the amenities that are most important to you, and it'll be relevant to where you are in the community. So it's kind of a cool tool to use. So we would encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I think it's really important. A lot of us, I talk about how important it is for me and my family to get out and to be able to walk and take advantage of the parks. And I think for a lot of people right now, that is the way that they can get out and sort of get out of the house in a safe way. And so our parks and our recreation and our trails are a really vital part of our community. And so this Parks Master Plan is going to set the tone for the next 10 years of what that development looks like and where our focus is. And so it's really important for all of our community members to dig in and to give us your input and to take that survey so your voice is represented in that 10-year plan.
Right. And we have a haiku from our Community Development Director, Kenny Asher. So now all you department directors are being challenged. Kenny's haiku, which I think is excellent, says,
Yeah.
The streets are quiet, but birds sing down Fano Creek. They too are at home. Well done, Kenny.
That's great.
It's great. It's wonderful. It's good.
I feel a whole lot of pressure now.
Okay, another event we want to call to your attention. We've got a virtual 5K fun run coming up. So it's if you want to go online and sign up for that, we encourage you to do that. Is it a fundraiser, I think? Yeah.
5K.
Yeah.
I got a question. Is it okay if I waddle the 5K? I
Sure,
mean, I'm not in any
you
capability to run right now, but I can certainly walk or waddle.
You bet.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
Challenge
anyway,
accepted.
sign up for that. It's kind of a fun virtual community event, and that should be fun.
The next question, will there be a splash pad in Tigard anytime soon? That's a great question because it's a potential for Universal Plaza. So this is another great opportunity. I remember when there was questionnaires going on about Universal Plaza that the splash pad was a really popular request.
The most popular.
Most popular. So I think we have heard you loud and clear, and that would be a super fun activity to make sure that we have at Universal Plaza. So please make sure to give us your feedback there. And so we can include it and make sure we hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
But that would be fun.
Yeah. Another thing to talk about, I don't know if any of you have heard the Talking Tigard podcast that our communications manager does a killer job on. The next guest is going to be State Rep Margaret Doherty.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have questions for her, you can send those to, I think, Mr. Wyatt. Is that correct? And he can make sure they're included as he has I'm sure it'll be an interesting discussion with Representative Doherty. So.
Yeah, the Talking Tigard podcast has been really interesting to hear from, and so I want to commend Kent on the different topics that have been discussed. I think Ben Bowman was on the last one talking about Pact with Pride. I'm behind on it, so I need to listen, but I know that was the last one that came out. But there's just really good community information in there going on, so thank you for having that community conversation and making sure it's available.
Is downtown losing businesses because of COVID? I think the question is really, are businesses shutting down? I think I've seen a couple. There was the Boom Fitness or whatever it was up by Southwest Office. They've closed, but I haven't heard of too many directly. I think that one there's one that was a fitness facility that closed. I thought because of COVID, but I do not know for sure. So I know our downtown businesses appreciate us patronizing them, and I try to do that on a regular basis. I know that some of the programs that we have, the business grants and things are designed to help businesses navigate these rough times they're in. But I can't think of a specific business that I've heard of that's closed that we've been told, but I think there might be one or two. So
I haven't. Councilor Newton, I have a question for you
Yes.
regarding a downtown business. Have you been to Hapa Howie's yet?
I have
One of the
not.
food carts. So my husband and I actually met when we were both living in Hawaii, and when we found out about Hapa Howie's, we've actually had lunch from there now twice, and it's really tasty. It's sort of tucked in behind or next to the gas station. There's a couple of food carts there.
Right.
Definitely check them out. But they were really tasty.
Good. The food carts downtown are fun. So.
They are fun. It's nice to have
Okay.
options.
Can you tell me more about the Tigard Triangle and what we're trying to accomplish? That's a big question. One of the exciting things that's just happening is we have just launched or broken ground on a huge multi-story residential development with commercial on the bottom floor.
Yep,
Sort of
it's
stand
a
right
super
here.
cool mixed use. I think
Yes.
it's like 200 plus apartments,
Right,
market rate apartments.
Right.
But the first floor has a lot of retail space, and so some really cool opportunities to have more of kind of an urban style living. I actually have previously lived in a mixed use apartment. And it was really kind of fun just to be able to go downstairs. There was some restaurants and different options to just not really have to leave your house but not have to leave the area. And so that's a really cool area that's going to be kicked off, and the ground is broken and it's going.
Right, and yeah, so it's a 6-story building approved for Tigard Triangle. It's the Overland, and it'll have 219 apartments, 6,000 square feet of retail. We're working on the Red Rock Creek trail alignment study. There's going to be a trail we're planning through, kind of diagonally through the Tigard Triangle that follows Red Rock Creek. I was a planner here for quite a while before I knew there was a Red Rock Creek, but there is, and
Yep.
so it goes sort of diagonally through the triangle into downtown. We're working on the 72nd Avenue transportation study. And then Red Rock Creek Commons is a new affordable housing development on 68th Parkway, and it's the first project to receive Tigard Triangle Urban Renewal Funding, adding 48 units of affordable housing. And so that's just a couple of things I would summarize. We have a page on our website, a new Tigard Triangle page, and there's a lot of information on that. And so I would encourage you to look at that. The other thing is the Southwest Corridor planning. There's stations planned in the Tigard Triangle at 68th and I think at Elmhurst.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of exciting things happening around the planning for those stations. So
Yep, and we'll have some more answers for you as soon as the election is over and the results of the transportation bond, because that's going to be a big piece on telling us which way the Tigard Triangle is going to go and how it's going to develop.
yeah. One other thing I will say about the Triangle is the city is also trying to invest in infrastructure there, so that we've got a good infrastructure in place so that we can do through partnerships or single just development coming in. We have the stage set, so to speak, so that it's we can facilitate more development there.
Well, and I know the Parks and Rec Board are really active as a part of the discussion and making sure that, as I talk about the importance of our parks and recreation, to make sure as the Tigard Triangle is being developed, especially as we look at more dense housing, having those green spaces is really important. So where should we be buying land for parks and trails and all of that? So there's really a global look at what the Tigard Triangle is going to be. So Rovente Pizza is now open. Is that how you say it? Did I say it right?
Rovente. That sounds right. Rovente. We'll see.
I know they have a couple of locations around Portland, but they just opened in Tigard, I believe, last week. And I know a lot of people are super excited about Ace Hardware.
Right. Ace Hardware, we're open down there on the shopping center on Durham and Hall, or Durham and 99, and so that's a nice addition to that area. So.
Yep.
Anyway. Okay, so what else we got going here?
We have a question about senior center housing.
the senior center housing?
The status on that.
Oh, the status on the senior center housing? I think it's still in development and discussion phase.
Right.
But we're continuing to work with the community and answer all of the questions. So over by the senior center, we're looking at also developing some affordable senior housing, which I think is super cool. Some of the things that I think is really important is it's going to be one of the only senior housing where all of the units are actually ADA compliant. And so even if you don't need it, you actually have the ability to age in place because you won't have to move out if your needs change during the process. Right. And there's a certain amount of units that are also going to be reserved specifically for veterans.
Right, it'll be great. And the interesting thing about this project is because the city is essentially acting as the applicant, the community is getting to be involved in the development of the application. And so once the application is is finalized and it's more formally submitted, there will be then another opportunity for the community to respond and comment on the completed application. So right now, fortunately, the community is able to be involved and comment on the application as it's being developed. So.
Yep. The next question, what are SROs doing now that they won't be in schools? That's an excellent question. So they are actually out and are part of the patrol team that are out on our streets and answering calls and checking everything out.
Right. So a decision, once it's made, we'll revisit that. But right now they're in the patrol division. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions? Anything else? I keep looking at Facebook. See what else I can remind people about.
Yeah. So I know we had a hot stretch there for a couple of days. I'd like to know, Tigard residents, what have you been doing to stay cool? How have you been enjoying it? We've seen a lot of people out there enjoying the parks and the water areas. Are there other cool things that you're doing? There's a neighbor of mine that has some really cool little sprinkler splash pads for all the kids, and it's fun to see them out there.
What is it like to have virtual council meetings? Well, I'm getting used to it. I don't have to drive down to City Hall. It's a little bit more formal though, because when we're all up at the dais and in the same room, I can just lean forward and sort of signal to the mayor that I want to say something. Mm-hmm. And now he more formally calls on each one of us to see if we have comments. And for some reason, some weeks I have a terrible time unmuting myself.
Well, I think if you saw the council meeting this last week, I was not expecting to be called first, and it took me a while to find the unmute button.
So, it's different, but I'm getting used to it. And we get the, people don't come up and speak in front of us on citizen communication, so we get all of that ahead of time, right before the meeting. So, try to read that. Well, I always read it to make sure I know what people are interested in. So that's a difference.
You can also call in. We have a phone line that's open if you want to reach us that way, which is really important. But yeah, council meetings, the structure has changed a little bit and become more formal. I think my cat has become an active participant. He really likes to sit on my desk, and he loves to bomb Zoom meetings. I'm actually surprised he hasn't made more appearances at council meetings. He loves to put his face right there and just stare.
Be there, yeah.
So, yep, he's also an active participant.
Okay, will the city be re-examining the budget and the funding for the police? Well, I don't think we have plans per se to open up the budget specifically to look at funding for the police. I think we are going to be having a special budget committee meeting on, I think it's going to be October 3rd, to be talking about a number of things, but mostly that's driven by the impacts of COVID on the community. There may be some changes to services related to racial equity, and some changes to programs based on the discussions of the Public Safety Transformation Commission. But we don't really have plans to open up the budget and re-examine it just specifically to look at police funding.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we are really trying to move forward in a very meaningful way with the Public Safety Transformation Commission to have the conversation. These are some big changes that we're talking about, and we want to make sure that we're making them thoughtfully, thinking about the impact and thinking about the community as a whole, which may mean that there are budgetary changes. But we're not specifically opening up the budget without having a plan as far as what we want those changes to look like. And so for us, the community participation is incredibly important, to have that discussion of what it should look like.
And I also would like to say too, I mean, our police department, I said it earlier, and we have an amazing police department.
Yep.
So I think, it's important for what we're looking at is engaging the community in what they want in terms of making sure we're all safe we all feel safe in our community. So, if we make changes in the budget around that, yeah, we would be looking at that. But I don't think we're approaching the Public Safety Transformation Commission with the idea that we need to rehaul our police department. We're going to have a community discussion about safety in our community and making sure that everybody feels safe around the police services in our community. So.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to also note, we're very lucky. Chief McAlpine is a phenomenal leader for our police department. And she's been here now for a couple of years, and when she did come in, she was already making some of these changes. So when we did the evaluation of the 8 can't wait, we were already in compliance of 7 of the 8, and the one was literally whether or not use of force versus the Supreme Court Graham versus Connor. And there's a discussion on which of those is better, and that's actually one of the discussion topics that we've challenged with our Public Safety Transformation Commission. And so our police officers are doing a great job of sort of trying to be ahead as possible. And really, like I said, we were already in compliance of 7 of the 8, which I think is reflective of the kind of leadership that our police department has.
Right. So that's an important thing to note. Okay. We have an announcement, breaking news. There's free KN95 masks for Tigard businesses. There's a link on the webpage. We're focusing on reaching minority-owned business, and we have a large supply. We're getting the thumbs up on the large supply. So please take advantage of those free masks. I also wanted to point something out that I look at fairly regularly, and that's the Shop Tigard feature that we have. It's kind of fun that local businesses get added periodically, and so that's a good place to check. I check just because sometimes I think, I haven't been there for a while. So it's a good place to check to make sure that you're supporting, if you can, our local businesses. If you have a choice, sometimes I'll say, I'll go to that business that's in Tigard.
Well, and I believe the Tigard Chamber is highlighting a different business every Tuesday to go eat at. And this past week it was Beach Hut Deli. So so definitely there's a Tigard Chamber Facebook page and web page, and you can follow to see which business is being highlighted each week for you to go to.
Right. We're looking for designer advisors for Universal Plaza, and we're probably going to get questions about what that is.
I'll post a link about it.
The communications manager is going to post a link about designer advisors for Universal Plaza. It does sound interesting, though.
Yeah, you've got a lot of great places to give us some input, so please use them. We want to hear from you and see what you want your community to look like, whether it's the Universal Plaza or the Parks and Recreation Department master plan. Lots of great opportunities to engage with us. And if there's a way you think we can engage more effectively or better, please also give us that feedback. We'd love to hear from you and come to you where you are. So please let us know.
And I'm going to give our staff kudos. We have a sort of on our website it says our virtual doors are open, and our staff has done an amazing job since the beginning of this pandemic to keep services going too. Obviously our public works crew and our police officers are out on the streets, but we have a lot of staff members that are working remotely, juggling kids trying to do online learning and the things that all of you are dealing with, but they've done an amazing job keeping services going to you. Try to have as many services available online to you, and so try to take advantage of that. I know you can still get a building permit, you can still get an inspection. We do have some folks in the building now for court, but the the communications team that Kent manages, they're all working remotely and doing a really good job keeping you all informed and keeping updated on all these opportunities you have to give us feedback. So we are providing services. There's information on our webpage about how to access services, and so please check that out, and kudos to staff. So
yeah, the staff did an incredible job pivoting and to be able to continue to provide services.
Right, yeah, they did
the next question, is there an update on moving out of phase 1, I assume, and into phase 2? And the answer is, to be quite honest, I haven't seen an update in a while, but I know there are certain metrics that we have to be hitting. And I think with the way that the cases are going and the positivity rate, I don't think we're anywhere near being able to move into phase 2 yet.
Yeah, the latest is Washington County, Marion County, Multnomah County are still sort of the challenging county. So that's the county we're in. So we're planning for continuing in this phase for a while. What I've heard is first of the year.
Oh, wow.
Yep, yep, that's what I've heard. We'll hope for sooner, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I know a lot of counties have been moved backward, so I think, it's great that we've been able to stay in phase 1 and not move back to phase home. So please continue to follow compliance, wash your hands, hand sanitizer, wear your mask when you're out in public, or not within 6 feet. You can't maintain that 6 feet distance. Because it's taking a community to try to get us there together.
Right. Okay, so if we give another couple of minutes to see if anybody else comes in with a question. Want to remind you that the mayor is doing his next virtual fireside chat on September 3rd, Thursday the 3rd, and then Thursday, September 17th. Please join Councilor Anderson and Councilor Lueb again for another Spark chat with the City Council. And so those will be your next opportunities. As Councilor Lueb mentioned earlier, really appreciate your thoughts on how we might engage with you during these sort of challenging times to connect. We're trying to keep the communication lines open. You can email us, or hope you'll participate in these events that we're having to try to hear what's on your mind. And I really appreciate you taking the time to communicate with us.
Also, if you have a virtual event that you'd like us to stop by at, please let us know. There's a council email address, and let us know the date and time. All councilors have different schedules, and so some of us may be more likely to make it than others, but we'd love to go ahead and participate and hear from you.
Just skimming the city's website to see if there's any other announcements we want to make. I don't see. Is the Tigard Street Heritage Trail officially open? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
It's really cool.
Yes, it's interesting, and it's very cool to see. So.
Yep, and Rotary Plaza as well. I mean, it's all sort of connected in that area. Mm-hmm. So lots of the murals are beautiful. If you haven't had the opportunity to go down there and take a look at them, they're really quite stunning.
Right. And the Sunday Farmers Market is down there, so in that general location, so that's going pretty well, I think. Yep,
it's sort of shifted to be one side of the street, and also the parking lot behind Symposium Coffee, and part of Rotary Plaza as well. So there's lots of different booths out there, and different options. We like to go there on Sunday and get some fresh fruit and some fresh vegetables for the week.
Yeah, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Wyatt?
Not seeing anything right now.
Okay. Well, again, we thank you for joining us this evening. If there isn't anything else, we will say good evening and hope you can join us next time for Spark with the Tigard Council.
Yep, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with us. Please communicate with us if you have any questions or concerns. We'd love to hear from you. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.